troubles today.
Oh, well.
Vice Chair Van Hoobie, we're ready when you're ready.
So Amy couldn't be here tonight. So I'm Steve Van Haverbeek, Vice Chair, and I will be conducting the meeting. So I call the meeting to order. Take roll.
It's a new year, and I do not have an attendance roll, but I'm going to work off the meeting agenda. So beginning with Barclay Hill.
We're here.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we're here.
Kaneem is here.
Usually first.
Yes. Caulfield. Here. Gaffney Lane. Excused. Hillendale. McLaughlin.
Here.
Park Place.
Here.
Rivercrest. South End. Tower Vista. Two Rivers. Thank you.
Okay. My screen is frozen, so.
Yeah, mine's not doing. They all are.
Yeah,
It won't let us do anything.
it's hard to sign in for some reason. Is it like a packet issue?
I'm wondering if it's the old reboot. We'll check.
Sorry, did that. No, you sure you want to quit? Simply like you said.
You made it click on something.
It's a new year.
Get a copy of the agenda instead of this.
Here, how about this?
Oh, the attendees did not preload, which they usually do.
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay, so we've got two presentations tonight. Fernwood Apartments sign variance.
That's us.
And go ahead, Ben.
All right. Hello, I'm Todd Morose. I'm with Ramsey Signs, and this is Chris Slovic, also with Ramsey Signs. And we're here to present a project for a sign variance for the Fernwood Court Apartments at 18712 South Central Point Road. We have a little PowerPoint presentation for you. And I guess we'll begin. This is in the South End neighborhood, and we were directed to come to you guys for the Citizen Involvement Committee, and there was no South End neighborhood to meet with, I guess. So here we are, and let's begin, shall we?
We shall.
We are a local sign company based in Portland since 1911, and we're working with newish owners of the Fernwood Court Apartments. They'd like to upgrade the signage. They're also upgrading the apartments. The unique situation with this apartment complex is that it's in a single-family residence zone. However, it does sit at Central Point and is at Mill Road, that kind of a busier intersection, and they don't have adequate signage, they feel, for things like entrance signage and directional, and just actually getting any kind of notice. And they really are trying to beautify the apartment complex, and the signage is a big part of that. A little about us, I guess I already gave that. We are an old sign company. All the signs you see up there, including the brilliant neon sign, is something we did. 1911, we are partly responsible for the Portland, Oregon sign. And we are a pretty nice, pretty good, pretty high quality sign company.
Yeah, Ramsey Signs has been around for about 100 years. And an interesting fact is Todd here has bent neon for many, many years. How many years?
27, since 1984. I went into sales about in 2008 because I I knew that the recession was coming, and I thought sales would be a great idea. Anyway, as you can see in this slide, we have the older signs that are currently existing that we'd like to upgrade, and those are the two on the top. And then that's the bottom right hand on at least my side is one of the main sign we'd like to propose for the intersection there. It does currently meet all of the current sign code criteria for a multifamily residential zone property. This is a little more detail on that sign. It's aluminum construction. It is a non-illuminated sign in that it doesn't have any internal illumination. We tried to make something that fit with what they're trying to do with the apartments. We think it's eye-catching. That's, everybody's got an opinion, but this is ours. The property owner really likes it. It's not an inexpensive sign, and they were serious about this enough to go through the variance process, which is not a guarantee. So here we are. You guys are our first step to get approval. These are examples of the 3 entrance signs. Typically, you're allowed 1 sign per entrance. I think a max of 2. However, this property has a unique situation with 3 entrances, and you can't see all of the building addresses from the street. So we thought it is important to have separate entrance signs for each entrance. If you notice on this, to the right, with the yellow circles and the red letters, those are the 3 entrances, and then letter A is actually the main sign, which is not at an entrance. As you can see, the buildings located inside, those are the only ways into each of those separate property parcels. So you can't really see the address signs on the buildings from the streets. Typically, the Oregon City Code does not take into account address numbers. They would count that as sign area. So we were going to put those separate, but the fire department, they do require you to have the addresses posted if you can't see the building address signs. And that is the case on all 3 of these properties. And the example you can see is up there with buildings well off of the road. So we did add those back in. That is going to be part of the variance. Here's a future of that intersection with the roundabout. And we'll still be out of the right-of-way for the roundabout, so we just included that so you guys can see. The upper is the current layout of the intersection. Again, these signs are facing South Central Point, and then the main sign also faces Warner Parrott. It's a busier intersection, not really a single family. I wouldn't consider that a single family zone that the signs are facing. And again, they are non-illuminated. The back of the property does back up to single family residence. However, they can't see the signage from there. No. Okay. Anyway, it was a short presentation. That was it, and we are open to questions if you guys have any.
So are there any lights shining onto the signs?
They'll probably have ground lights that just shine up at the sign. They'll be directed at the sign so as not to spill outside of the sign face. If you guys would prefer, we didn't ask for this, but this is our first step. But it's starting to become, with technology, the LED lighting is a very subtle alternative. Typically for something like this, we've had success putting the LEDs inside of a reverse channel letter, and then all it does is it backlights a halo light against the sign face. So all you see is a halo coming out. And those are able to be dimmed down. There's actually less light spillage. However, the sign codes have not caught up to that idea yet, so we haven't asked for it because it would be another variance we'd have to actually pay to apply for and maybe not get through.
Anybody? Nope. One thing, Bob?
Could you bring up the picture of the proposed signs again?
Sure. And we also have handouts we can take. Okay, these are the signs. The main sign at signing.
What size are those signs that go into the secondary driveways?
You mean height and width?
Yes.
Handing that.
And above grade.
Those are all the same.
They are 5 feet, I believe, above grade.
This is a little more complete in the entirety of the print, whereas that just has some details.
Okay, well, the rest of the people are probably interested in the dimensions.
Yeah, and so the dimensions, we've kept the sign area and the sign height are all to code for multifamily residential. In fact, the existing signs, I believe, are taller at 2 of the entrances. They're pretty big. I don't know that those were permitted originally. We don't know, but probably not.
As this, you say we're the first one, so you haven't gone before the planning commission or?
No, we have to.
Do you know if you need to or not?
We do. We're going for a full variance. We have to, you guys are the first people to meet with and to get your approval and blessing to move forward. And after that, then we can go into the city for the variance.
I'm all for helping you save money on projects, and so I would think this would be a great idea. The way it is just your lights that light up on it, rather than applying for something that you may or may not get, costing you more money in the process. So the more money you spend, that kind of will sound to other people than that you send.
We're still going to be working with the local neighborhoods as well and contacting all of them and showing them our plans and making sure that everyone's on board.
Yeah, we do send a notice out to the neighbors within a certain radius, and they will get, a chance to say anything if they'd like. This is far from a done deal.
So could you explain again what the actual variance is?
Okay, our variance is for more signs than we're allowed because we have the 3 entrances. We want the 3 entrance signs. It's also,
and the
actually what the main variance is because this is a zone single family, you're basically allowed 1 tiny sign, which they already have 3 signs. And they put 3 signs at all 3 entrances. They didn't know, they thought that probably the first entrance sign was legally allowed at some point, and so it's grandfathered in. And what we could have done was just reface it. But these guys really want to do something a little nicer, make it look more attractive. And so they had us design what you see up there. So we're going for more signs than you're allowed and also larger signs than you're allowed. But what we're not doing is going for anything that you wouldn't be able to get in a multifamily residential zone. This is miszoned as a single family residential zone, this property. And so we're basically trying to get a multifamily residential allowance for a single family residential zone.
Have you had any feedback from the neighborhood as yet?
You guys are our first neighborhood contacts, yeah. There isn't a south end neighborhood that we know of. Is that what your understanding is? Yeah. So the concerned citizens are you guys are our neighborhood association essentially.
Okay.
And the fire department wants the different addresses on the signs because it's going to assist them.
We were looking into the sign code, and the sign code, they were saying you can't add the addresses unless they're legally required. So then, typically around the area, and I do a lot of signage around the country also, but fire emergency vehicles, they need to know where they're going. And the one thing we found in the code for the fire department was that they do require addresses to be posted if they can't see the addresses on the buildings. And in Oregon City, you're required to post addresses on the buildings themselves. But because some of these buildings are set too far back with visual impediments in front of them, you can't see them. So we're going to we're going to try to get them through like you see, with the addresses on the bottom. I don't think it's too obtrusive, and typically that's not considered sign area. Just in the city of Oregon City, they currently do.
Only one issue that I can, script is becoming obsolete. And while I think everyone here has no problem reading it, it's becoming less so as a new generation comes through school. Have you considered using a different font?
This is their logo.
It's up to them.
I understand what you're saying. My kids are 27 and 25, and they did not have to learn script, which was a little surprising. However, they are aware, and we always try to guide people to making things very clear, and block lettering is a much more readable thing. But they consider this part of their logo design, so they wanted to stick with it.
Okay.
But that was a great suggestion.
If nothing else, thanks for your time. And we hope that, is there anybody that knows of a reason that this should not go forward? Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time.
So you've presented it to us, now you got to go to the next, what's the next step?
Planning.
I think we talked to Christine.
So this is a requirement for a complete application, so now that this meeting's happened, they can turn their land use application and review it, and a planning commission hearing date will be scheduled.
Okay.
Do they get,
Come and support us.
do they get a letter to say we supported them, or do we take a vote and say we supported
No, you're not, that's not required. That's all required is a meeting, and so I will put a note to the file that this meeting occurred and counts as their neighborhood association meeting.
Thank you. Thank you for all your help, guys. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And here's some agendas if anybody needs.
Oh, nice.
Okay, next is Liz from downtown Oregon City.
Anybody without?
Yeah, I'm a little old school, so I just have packets.
We like packets.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That goes on. It's the same thing we have.
Great. Knocked me over.
I know. Sorry about that.
Got an agenda?
Sure.
Thanks, Amy.
So these are hot off the press as of this morning. So Amy asked me to come and just do a quick update of what we've been up to for the last year, and what you can expect from us coming into 2020. So these are our 2019 annual reports. It just goes through kind of all of the projects that we've been doing, the direct investment that has gone back into our community through our events and things. Just, we use some of the national statistics because we don't have sales tax in Oregon. It's a little harder to show direct investment. So the national statistics uses an average person spends $20 at an event, whether that's eating at a restaurant or buying coffee or things like that at events. And we had 20 events this year with a total of about 27,000 participants throughout the community. So that's a little bit more than $500,000 that we put directly back into our downtown economy over those 20 events. That doesn't include, participation in other marketing. We did a little passport campaign. We've done a lot of promotion and coordination. So that's just an idea of how we've spent our money that we raised through events, through our partnership with the city, through our running the elevator, things like that. So you have a list of all the things, all of our income and where we spent our money in this packet here. We also can look at about, it was just about, I think 60,000 or 52,000, sorry, 52,000 hits to our website. We try to work with earned media. So through our events and things, we did 15 interviews on TV this year. We did a couple of national web campaigns. We also were in a national magazine for our Oregon Trail Game 5K run. It was Gaming Magazine, which normally there's not a lot of runs in gaming magazines, so it was pretty fun. But we're known for our events, which is kind of the big things that we do. So we put on 20 events this year. We tried to balance a little bit more of the types of events that we were doing. We traditionally in the past have done very large, if you've been to First City Celebration, those kinds of events that shut down the street. And we're trying to bring in a few more events that are smaller, more intimate, and push people through the door of businesses. So things like our wine walks and the spirit walks really are targeted towards pushing people through the door of businesses so that hopefully they're spending money that evening or that day, but if they're not, they're seeing something that they wouldn't normally see and they're coming back and spending money that way. So we're balancing a little bit more of the smaller events with those large community style events. So that's just kind of one quarter of 1/3 of what we do. We're part of the National Main Street Organization, so we use the Main Street model, which is a 4-point approach. So events are in that promotion side, which includes marketing and retail generation and kind of business generation. So we did a lot of work within that. That's kind of the easiest side of the Main Street model. Economic vitality is really that pushing businesses, marketing, and it's using data to then create information for people to use as their business. And then there's design. So I know everyone loves the street tree lights. So we started that program 3 years ago, and we're continuing to maintain it. It's getting on the expensive side, so we spend a lot of time fundraising for that program as well. So we do things like that. We also got a $60,000 grant for a Coin Corner and Hobbies to do a renovation, which will start in the spring this year in 2020, which is pretty exciting. It's a facade renovation. We're hopefully going to get rid of the awning and open up the old transom windows, which is pretty exciting. The original window, or the original glass, is still there underneath the plywood. So it's really exciting for me as a history person. But so we're working with the businesses to receive grants to improve their buildings constantly. We've got a couple more grants coming up this year that we have 3 or 4 applicants that we'll be putting in. And then in 2021, January of 2021, the $200,000 grant through the state comes up again. So we're really excited to start seeing who wants to spend $200,000 on their building. So that's a new project. And then the last one is really organization. So as a separate nonprofit, we have to continue to communicate well. We have to continue to fundraise to keep our staff. We did have a pretty significant drop in staff. Last year we had 5 staff, and this year we have 2. So, our capacity is going to change a little bit over the next year. But we're really focused on trying to be as strategic as possible with the projects that we're doing, the events that we're doing, and really spend a lot of time recruiting new volunteers. which, you know, volunteerism has changed. I don't know if you've noticed as the volunteer committee. But so we're trying to try new things and get people excited about particular projects versus joining committees. So that's one thing that we're really pushing this year is we've got a list of projects. And so people don't have to join a committee for 3 years. They can just do that one project and feel good about it, and then move on and hopefully join the next project. So for example, we've been really pushing, a lot of people really want to do a flag program. So they want to purchase 100 American flags, and stands to put out for specific holidays like 4th of July and Veterans Day, things like that, and line Main Street with them for the like Friday, Saturday, Sunday variety. And so we have a group that has started kind of doing some research on that, and so they're just that kind of volunteerism. So they're not worried about any of the events that we're doing. So we're trying something new with our volunteer group, and so we'll see if that works. But yeah, so what else? I think that's kind of my spiel for now, pretty informal. But we've got, you know, a bunch of events coming up in the next few years, or next few months here. And right now we're kind of doing our strategic plan, our action plan for this year. We created a strategic plan for the 5 years last year. So we're really focused on retail generation and retail development right now. We've lost a lot of retail over the last 2 years. We've got a lot of great restaurants, but the retail is really why people go from place to place. And so we're trying to kind of create that. I use the lily pads, creating those like close lily pads versus, you know, one here and one there, and so that people don't have to walk an entire block or 2 blocks in order to go to the next place. So business recruitment, I think, is going to be one of our bigger projects over the next year. Yeah. So, any questions?
Yeah, I enjoy the elevator signage.
Oh, yeah.
I come home in the evening and I traverse across the Arch Bridge, and I'm always looking for something on there. And I thought what you did this time around was pretty good, through the holiday.
Yeah.
And so could you talk about the elevator and the plans for that? And is that going to be expansive or?
So we're working on it. So there's a lot of permitting processes to get the lighting going for the signage. But we did get the 2019. For years, people have been asking us to do a ball drop at the elevator. And so we did kind of a mini version this year, which was pretty exciting. So we had a 2019 sign on the shaft of the elevator. And at midnight, we changed it over to 2020, and everyone came out from Arch Bridge and from all the bars around, and it was entertaining. And so we're hoping to make that a little bit more of a formal process going forward. You know, we had a snowman during the holidays, so we're working with Illuminate Oregon City, which is an organization here in town that does a lot of the lighting. They helped with, if you saw the Oregon City Christmas tree this year, he donated that tree skirt kind of thing this year. So he created that and did kind of at the tree lighting, we did, kids could decorate little tree stump kind of things, and we put them up so that they could be a part of Oregon City's tree lighting event. So the elevator, we're going to continue. We just got renewal with the city to take over the contract again for the next 3 years. So we took over in 2017, 3 years ago, and our ridership is up by about 37% over the 3 years because of the improvements that we've been trying to do. We worked with the city to put $100,000 into a marketing program around it last year. We each put in $50,000. So it's pretty exciting to see what's happening. We've got a passport program that sends people around different places around town that starts there. And then in 2020, March, we will install the new kiosk, which is a kind of a U-shaped desk that's kind of 50s style to fit with the aesthetic of the elevator. And that will be manned Friday and Saturday throughout the kind of off season, and then 5 days a week during the kind of high tourism season. And it'll be a place where we'll kind of bring in more tourists and send them and keep them here longer and spending money longer. And so we're excited about that program too. So there's lots of things happening at the elevator. Yeah, we've even got kind of, there's potential for art projects, like art gallery kind of displays that we're gonna look into over the next year here. So there's exciting things happening. Yeah.
Why don't you ask her?
Where will the kiosk be?
It'll be in the observation deck on the promenade side.
On the elevator?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Bob?
I like the idea of the flags
Yeah.
on special events. I'm kind of a patriot.
Yeah.
We have a local merchant who sells flags, and he's very civic-oriented.
Yeah.
So I suggest you go to him for a really hefty discount.
Okay, I will definitely. We actually, in December, we adopted an official policy for DOCA, a purchasing policy that we will do concentric circles. So we'll start with all of our purchasing will happen either in downtown, in the city of Oregon City, the county. So we will try to use local people first in everything that we purchase. You know, in the past, we've gone to national companies because it's cheaper, and we've decided that we're going to make an official effort to, whether it's cheap or not, we're going to use local people.
Well, he's local, so
Yeah.
you also would have to be drilling holes in sidewalks and whatnot. There'd be some labor involved in that. I'd recommend that you maybe look to the Boy Scouts for some help to keep your costs down. That might be a resource that you can use.
Yeah, I think we're going to try and do it as a kind of a temporary, I've done it in other communities before, and we built kind of wooden stands that you could take down for the weekend, you know, put up for the weekend, and then just use sandbags to hold so that there's no drilling or things like that.
Okay.
I think the city might have some issues with us just drilling into the pavement. So yeah.
Now you do have some funding given to you by the city.
We do.
Every year, and the city commission, at least some of them, have been a little bit reluctant to continue that funding on a yearly basis. So one of my questions is, do you have any plans to reduce the amount of money that you would need from the city? And then also my second question is, you reduced your personnel from 5 to 2. Aren't the elevator operators your employees?
Technically, I didn't count them in that. That was just the office staff.
Okay. Okay.
So we have 6 currently operators.
Okay.
Yep. So we currently don't have any plans to reduce that ask for the city. Right now it's at $60,000 for the next 2 years or year and a half. We haven't planned far enough ahead yet to decide whether or not we're going to continue that ask or not. The Oregon Main Street program is making it a qualification that unless you have funding from your city, you cannot have an affiliation. So we would lose our Great American Main Street Award, and we would lose our affiliation with the state and federal program if we don't continue to get funding from our city. It's one of those, the state doesn't want to put effort into communities that the city doesn't want to put effort into. And so that might change what we do or don't do. It's a new policy, so they haven't decided what the cap is or the minimum effort from or minimum investment from the city. How we have used the money that we got from the city has always been for growth. So it hasn't been, initially it was 100% of our income. Right now it's about 12% of our income. And so we have reduced our need for it over the last 10 years. But we've used it to help us continue to grow so that we can do more and more projects. If you look, we did about 40 projects this year. Most main streets can only handle about 12 to 13 projects. And so the fact that we're doing almost 3 times what any other organization can do is how we're using that funding. So if we don't have that funding, we'll have to reduce the number of programs that we can do. So I guess I'm just kind of talking out loud right now, but we're figuring out what that looks like, I guess. Yeah.
I really enjoy your downtown
Thanks.
events.
We work hard.
The older I get, the worse my hips get, and the further I have to park.
Yes.
Have you ever considered organizing some kind of a shuttle?
Yes. So we actually tried to do that for First City this year, and it was a little too expensive last minute. But we will be doing that in the future for some of our bigger events, especially the kind of all things collided this year. They were repaving the big parking lot, the municipal lot in downtown this year, so people had to go even further. So we're gonna try and work with a company that will pick people up at Safeway up here and then drive down. So we'll do, and we're actually even working potentially with Westland, who has a street dance on the same night, to do a 3-stopper, so that we can kind of share costs and share clientele, or yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have a, Rita?
I wondered, I used to hear the elevator as the only vertical street in the world.
It is.
It seems to me that would be a real good way to cash in on getting people to Oregon City.
Yeah.
And I loved it this year, and I love the downtown lights. We're very very beautiful downtown, and I do hope someday the parking situation can be a little better than it is.
Yeah, I think I like to say we don't have a parking problem, we have a parking management problem. There's the way that we use it, the way that we come in from downtown, coming from 10th, there's always parking going north, but nothing going south. And so if there's better signage, and that's actually the TDM group through the city is actually looking at, and we're a part of that, but helping them figure out a better management system for how we use our available space right now. One thing that we've been working on for as long as I've been here, almost 2 years now, is shared parking, which is really exciting. That it made it through commission, and we're hoping in the next couple of months here that we can. Essentially, private lots that are downtown are going to become a part of this program, and after 5 p.m. and on weekends, they'll become public lots. So we'll add about 100 spaces to downtown with that new program. So the TDM and downtown has been working really hard on that.
And we'll have to be really clear, because Bush's Furniture always had, I go there and trade, but now there's only like one customer parking spot because they've used the building in other ways.
Yeah.
But if it's marked well, I think that's an excellent.
Yeah, it's definitely on our radar constantly. That's one thing that every downtown that I've ever worked at has always had a parking problem. Downtowns were made before cars, right? So we try to use the land the best way possible, try to manage it well, and then figure out what to do next. You know, if we're at 85% capacity all the time, does that mean we need to start doing satellite parking? You know, there's a lot of issues that come with parking and with downtowns. So we're constantly figuring out ideas. You know, I really want to do the TL, the hockey sticks so that people have kind of a landing pad, because we're losing a lot of parking spaces that way. When you can normally fit 6 parking spots on one, people aren't parking close enough together, and so we only get 4 or 5 parking spots. So there's some management issues there that we could easily and cheaply
fill up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Anybody else? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Is there any public comment? I see nobody out here. Staff update?
Thank you, Vice Chair Van Haverbeek. My report, I have a couple updates. The presentations from the December meeting, the PDFs are available on the agenda. So if you had some questions or wanted to show something to somebody, those are available. Just a reminder, as of last week when the agenda went out, Kenema, Rivercrest, Hillendale, and Two Rivers had yet to turn in their applications for the new year for CIC. If you've already done it, thank you. If you haven't, please work with Katie Riggs directly to answer any questions about the application for the next 2-year cycle. As always, I keep information about postcards, a link on the liaison website. If you have any specific questions about postcards, contact Kelsey McNall or myself, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those questions for you. And finally, there's been some requests, and I'm going to pick this up, about how can I learn more information about development projects. And this was sent out in an email last month, but I wanted to remind everybody. There's really 2 easy ways to learn more about development projects in the city. One, on the main page, I can use the other one. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can click on this link that says development projects. And it can send you to a list of all, both capital improvement projects and land use projects that are in the city, and you can click on any individual one. Actually, I think this is what was discussed this evening, Historic Review Board, and you can get application materials and some basic information. The other opportunity is to sign up for a listserv, and I'm going to go back to the main page and show you how to do that. There's a direct link on the liaison report, but I'm also going to show you how to get there by navigation. If you go to the community drop-down menu and you go to subscribe newsletters, click on this link. You can put your email address in, and you can click on the land use and public notice. And anytime a public notice form is uploaded or amended, you'll get a link, and I sign up for them just so I can see it. And it's on Sunday, and it'll just show links to 1 or more land use applications that have been new or updated that week. So you can quickly just click on something. We're beta testing the Neighborhood Association. So if you also want to sign up just for your neighborhood association, you should be able to get only land use notices when it's in your neighborhood association. So if you want to do that, you could also do both if you want, but let me know if you are getting those neighborhood associations. But you may not have one for a couple months because we may not have a land use application in your neighborhood association boundary, but let me know if those are working for you, if you check on just your neighborhood association, because each land use application is categorized by its neighborhood association and which one it's in. So those are 2 easy ways to learn what's going on. And if people in your neighborhood association want to learn more, you can forward that information from my liaison report to them. And that's all I have, so I'm available if anybody has any questions.
How do they sign up for the new monthly newsletter?
That's a good question. I don't know, and I can find out and send that information in a liaison email. That is what Kristen Brown is putting together, and it's kind of a roundup of news and events, and there's a link, and I'm sure it's somewhere on here, but it might be easier if I just send it to you via email, and then I'll give you the direct link. So that's all I have.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is elections, and how many neighborhoods are?
As of last week, but when this agenda was sent out, there were 4 waiting.
4
I know Amy wanted to wait until February, till everyone was appointed and moved on, but I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah. So is there any objection to holding off on the election till next month?
I make a motion that we hold off the elections till next month.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. And do we need
Do you want to
to?
go first? Or-
Want to take a vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have a question on the
Question.
I'll need Tony and Rachel's attention on this. The voting, the city commission has approved the vote of all members of each neighborhood association. If we vote, can we all vote on any issues that come up before the code is actually changed?
No.
What code is that?
Because it's been approved by the city commission.
Well, I think the approval from the city commission was that CIC would go forth and you would edit your code and bring back changes that would still then have to go through the public review process and whatever approval process is by the, I think you have the backing of the commission to, you know, work on your bylaws and do as you're proposing to make yourself a more robust and if you want to change your voting membership, then I think you got general support, but my understanding is it would still have to come back through as an official change. Looking at Tony.
We rely on the code that's in place until it's changed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wanted to be sure we were on the right track on that. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, voting to continue the election till next time we meet. Park Place?
Aye.
McLaughlin?
Aye.
Hazel Grove? Oh, they're not here. Caulfield?
Aye.
Kanema?
Monthly news.
Yes. Berkeley Hills? Yes. Thank you.
All right, general business, bylaw committee.
Are you on the
We got anything from the bylaw?
Oh, I didn't know we had a committee yet.
Oh,
I guess not.
amendments, creation of bylaw. Okay. So not at this time.
Well, I think the objective here was probably to form a committee to address the code and also the bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, so.
I don't know if it takes.
I seem to recall that there was.
I believe a committee, I believe people signed up, but Amy had not set up a meeting yet.
Okay, so Amy was on top of that.
Ball's in her court.
Super. Okay, we'll put that one off till next month. Okay, request for,
I think there was a bylaws committee that was formed. I thought Vern was on that, so maybe someone could contact them and say, hey,
so I
have a
think
meeting.
Amy, Vern, and Bob were the committee,
Oh, okay. Okay.
as I recall from the last meeting.
I think so. I think I volunteered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and Rita.
So who were the members?
You,
Yeah.
Amy,
Vern?
Vern, and Rita.
Okay. I guess I'll organize something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rita has something.
Is the procedure just for us to meet, or do we have to meet with someone?
Well, I think,
Committee, I didn't quite, I kind of got the feeling a little bit ago that it included somebody from the city, and yet I didn't feel that way previously.
So what we've done in the past is the committee has met individually or separately, I mean.
Yeah.
And gone through, when I was on the previous committee, in great detail, the bylaws. Now, we do have a set of bylaws that were on the verge of being approved when the reorganization of the CIC took place. We can use those bylaws as a kind of a template or an example and make, I mean, it's a pretty good set of bylaws. I don't think it would take much to adapt those bylaws so that they comply with the current city code in reference to the CIC, which, you know, we'd have to obviously have to do that. So I don't think there'd be a lot of work that would have to be done to those bylaws. I think just once we get to the point where we feel comfortable, then they would have to be presented to the entire CIC for approval. And then from that point, then we'd have to take them to the city commission for the commission's approval. And I would anticipate trying to get an early copy to the city commission so that they would have plenty of time to review those bylaws before we present them to the city, at a city commission meeting. That's pretty much how we did it before. It worked pretty good. Everybody got to have their 2 cents worth. And I think the same could be said for a committee. The committee, apparently they want to be the same committee for the code amendments. There wouldn't be too many amendments in the code, just enough to comply with what the city has decided to let us do in relation to voting membership and the bylaws and organization of the agenda. So I'll go ahead and get the committee organized and get some meetings going, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got a request for CIC support for Park Place and Barkley Hills pedestrian crossings. So,
Yeah, we did that.
yeah. Was there anything
I have a presentation. Come down there so everybody can see how nervous I am.
when your earpiece starts beeping that we know?
You know, I'm getting my new Army ones here pretty soon, I hope. Maybe they won't be so noisy. I apologize. What they tell me is that the cones you put in your ears, if there's any leakage by them, you get this ringing, which I can't hear.
So we know you're coming.
Yeah, you know I'm coming sometimes. So I apologize for that. It's kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. Okay. Got the wrong. Okay. I'm representing the Park Place Neighborhood Association, and we're asking that the transportation system plan crosswalks on Holcomb Boulevard be raised in their priority. Park Place is experiencing the largest development of any other neighborhood in the city, and Holcomb Boulevard is becoming a more dangerous street as we speak. I'm going to give you some figures to think about. The 2017 volume traffic study by Quality Counts LLC shows at Holcomb Boulevard and Redland Road a daily count of 9,370 trips. A 2018 transportation impact study by Lancaster Engineering stated a daily increase of 7,401 daily trips will be generated by the development of the recently annexed portion of the Park Place concept plan. That's going to be 400 to 500 new homes. And that doesn't include the daily trips generated by the currently developing Old Airfield property on Holcomb Boulevard, and that's 98 new dwellings, or the recently annexed Sears property on Holcomb Boulevard, which is 124 new dwellings. Those could be an additional 2,220 daily trips going up and down Holcomb Boulevard. That comes to a grand total of 9,626 additional trips, more than doubling today's trips and challenging even the most nimble pedestrian. Compared to other areas of Oregon City, Park Place is a pedestrian safety wasteland. Let's compare some other streets in Oregon City. Now keep in mind that Holcomb Boulevard from Redland Road to the east of the city limits is a distance of 1.9 miles with no traffic signals, no stop signs, and no crosswalks. Molalla Avenue from Highway 213 to Beaver Creek Road, a distance of 0.8 of a mile, has, or soon will have, 5 traffic signals and 2 crosswalks. Molalla Avenue, or they call it in the old days, Molalla Avenue from Beaver Creek Road to Division Street, a distance of 1.4 miles, has 4 traffic signals and 2 crosswalks. 7th Street from Division to Singer Hill, a distance of 0.6 of a mile, has 2 traffic signals and 2 crosswalks. High Street from Singer Hill to 2nd Street, a distance of 0.4 of a mile, has 5 crosswalks. Warner Parrott Road and Warner Milne Roads from South End Road to Molalla Avenue, a distance of 1.8 miles, have 4 traffic signals and 2 crosswalks. Washington Street from 7th Street to Home Depot, a distance of 1.4 miles, has 6 traffic signals and 2 crosswalks. So it gives you kind of a comparison of different streets. Now it should be noted also that most traffic signals actually have 4 crosswalks. Considering the projected increase in traffic on Holcomb Boulevard, we request that the crosswalks that are already on the transportation system plan from 2013 be raised in their importance and priority so that we can get a few of those crosswalks, which are already planned, 4 of them, on Holcomb Boulevard, I've met with John Lewis and his staff, and they've been very helpful, very informative, but the only hope they give us is sometime in the future, we may get the funding from the Safe Routes to Schools grant. Well, that's wishful thinking. It doesn't give us anything positive. There are other ways of funding that are available. Reallocation of funds. You know, that usually takes a city commission vote, but it's been done in the past. If you look at a city budget, there are huge amounts of money in contingency. I'm talking big bucks. If you look closely at a city budget, it's amazing. I've been told that the finance department doesn't like to let those funds go very easily. Well, okay, fine. I feel where there's a will, there's a way, by golly, and it's time that those crosswalks help the people up there on Holcomb Boulevard and Park Place. It's a very, very dangerous situation, and we would like to be proactive rather than reactive up there. So I would request a motion be made that a letter be sent in support of raising the priority on the TSP plan crosswalks on Holcomb Boulevard from the CIC. We already have a vote of approval from the Transportation Advisory Committee in this manner. They voted unanimously to support raising the priority. Rita.
Are there already designated spots for crosswalks? Is that what you said when you started?
They have designated spots on Holcomb Boulevard for the crosswalks. Now those, three of them are pretty good. One of them couldn't be in a worse position. I mean, it's just...
Is there any possibility for that hill where you come up off of Redland Road to have a safe passageway? A student was just killed from the, one of the eastern Portland school districts in a crosswalk and going to school this morning.
Yeah.
But I know that road really well. I drove it 10 and a half months a year for 28 years. But it's good to see the sidewalks, but there definitely needs to be, people like to get out and walk, and kids walk. And I would like to put into that some sort of a study on what could be done with that area before you get up onto the flat above the
You're
road.
talking it from Redland Road to...
From Redland Road up Holcomb.
Yeah, I think the TSP has some
Sidewalks would be nice.
sidewalks planned there, but that would be quite expensive.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
you'd have to be putting some fill in there on one side. On the other side, you'd have to cut that bank way back. Yeah, it's dangerous. I've seen people walking there, and I wouldn't want to do it myself. But yeah, we would like to see that. Yeah. Our main focus right now is trying to get some crosswalks in, and the city is helping us with a traffic study on speeds on Holcomb, so we're getting some help there. Anyway, I'm asking for a support, maybe a letter of support sent to the Public Works Department.
I'd like to make a motion that.
Just a second, got another comment.
My particular concern as a mother, with a lot of kids there and families, is that you have one side of Holcomb and the other, and there's no crosswalk tying that community together, especially towards Park Place, the park. And so for me, I don't see how a community like that growing can't have some crosswalks. It's necessary and a priority. So that's my opinion.
Okay.
I move that we follow Bob's suggestions and get as much done by the city as we can to improve the crosswalk situation.
Should Barclay Hills present their situation too, since we're talking about it, or do we want to do these two separate ones?
Yeah, we didn't know.
Yeah, because we didn't know, but we can.
We should, let them do it.
Put them together?
Yeah, I would think.
Thanks.
Why don't you go ahead?
Thanks for your
And
support.
then we'll,
Well, Barclay Hills has had situations, and Malala Avenue itself, we have sketchy, crosswalks where you can't see people. There's LED lights at night. There's more people wearing dark colors than ever that aren't seen. And particularly, there's, the one by Plaid Pantry. So if you go past Division Street, there's a crosswalk there that's hard to see people. Particularly, there's Pearl, and there's a lot of struggles with that, going uphill and the angle of the intersection. There's one also by Tachos, between Tachos and Hilltop Church. But the particular one that is the most priority to us at the moment is where Grocery Outlet is, where Barclay Hills Drive is. That particular one, myself, and we have lots of traffic there. Someone may decide to walk up, and you literally can't see them from the other side. Like if I'm coming up the hill, you cannot see them standing there. I had an incident today where I was by the library, and someone just casually decided to finally go up to the crosswalk. The light goes off, and I slammed on my brakes so they could go through. And we're having that difficulty upward, but no blinking crosswalk. So for us, with the nice lady that was killed on Pearl Street, and that's a crosswalk, and someone took a right turn while I guess they were on their cell phone particularly by accident and didn't see her, and it's kind of an awkward angle. So the biggest part for us right now to see as a priority as a neighborhood was Barclay Hills Drive, across from the Chevron and Grocery Outlet right now, but in the future, as we're growing, as Malala gets more traffic, we're hoping for more blinking, a few of them, depending on what the city can afford. John Lewis has mentioned that one of those blinking lights particularly costs at least the city $35,000. And our particular one, because of having to redo wires in the sidewalk, would cost $65,000 at least. And he also mentioned that in the future they're looking at one because of Gardner in the Rivercrest neighborhood, right where Plaid Pantry is too. So that's another place they're looking at. So that's kind of the background. Right now we see a priority at Barclay Hills Drive area, and we're hoping for support too. So
For lights.
Yeah, for lights, like blinking lights. Yeah. And do you have anything to add that I'm missing?
Yes.
Okay.
Brent Wadsworth said that we should do this immediately.
Yes.
Because when he started doing patrol at night, he says you can't see anybody there. And it's worse when it's raining because of the trees and the poles and everything. He says it's impossible to see anybody. And he's the one that told us we should do this.
And I can only imagine now what's happening in Park Place.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyways, we're hoping for support too in Park Place, so.
okay.
And I forgot to ask, I have a copy of my narrative that I'm going to ask to put in the record.
Sure.
And do you have an electronic version maybe you could send us, Stephen, if as a base
No.
for?
I'll give you this.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Did you want blinking lights for your crosswalks, or do you just want crosswalks?
Yes, yeah. They're most important because of the sight distances involved.
And the speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since for some reason Holcomb is still 40 mile an hour. And
People go 50.
no
All intents and
signage,
purposes 50.
at least, yeah. Okay. Now we'll take a motion.
I would make a motion to also include Barclay Hills in the support from the CIC.
Could we just revise the original motion?
I don't think we ever quite got to the motion.
Oh, okay.
So what is it exactly we are agreeing to? City crosswalks or a letter to wish for city crosswalks?
I'm looking for a letter to be sent to the Public Works Department to raise the priority of the crosswalks on Holcomb Boulevard and the TSP, and to fund those crosswalks by any means possible as soon as possible.
Okay.
So you want to make that motion?
He made it.
I would recommend you CC the city commission.
What?
I would recommend you CC the city commission.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second.
We need to add Barkley Hills to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
What he said separately, Barkley Hills needs to have the flashing light crosswalks signs be put in on Barkley Hills Drive between the fireplace store and grocery outlet. Nice. So I guess
Look at
that's
Steve,
the
there's
total
seagulls
motion.
over your head.
All right, so do we have a final motion that includes both?
We could just,
Park
I would
Place and
make a
Barkley
motion, as
Hills?
I stated before, and in addition to the Barkley Hills statements for their needs.
Okay, somebody second.
And we've seconded, so let's take a vote.
can we signify by just saying aye, and those who oppose say nay?
That's good.
Yep.
Okay. You want to do it?
Okay, all in favor of issuing the letter of support?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Abstaining?
Who will write the letter?
We have a secretary still.
Oh, great. Whoa. Real duty.
Oh, something to do.
Oh, yeah. I'll need help. Bob.
I'll help. Yeah.
And roundtable.
Go with Bob.
Start with Bob.
I don't have anything.
Perfect.
Kenema will be having a steering committee this week on the 8th, and we have lots to put on our meeting for things to talk about Kenema. We have the article that came out in the paper with the 78 violations, code violations in Kenema. You can't take a walk on the streets there without people saying, anytime a Public Works goes by, are they taking pictures? Are they doing? So everyone's really upset about that. And the entire Kenema neighborhood has been placed under the Greenway Act. So I don't know how we're ever going to flood up to Fifth. By the time we get up to Fifth, it must be pretty much over with. And the House Bill 2001, kind of like to talk about that. And one of our neighbors, just one neighbor, her property is being considered a wetlands. No one else is on either side of her, just her little 50 by 100 lot with the 50-foot setbacks. So we're going to be trying to help her as well to see if that cannot. I mean, some people would like their property to be in the wetlands, but not everybody wants that. So it makes her property worthless. She won't be able to develop it, and she's lived there for 20 years. So she's kind of upset about that. So, lots going on.
Yeah, we're pretty quiet, new management in our group and new leadership, and so we have some meetings put together and trying things put together for our first meeting, 28th of January, but pretty quiet besides that.
Barclay Hills is having a meeting on the 14th, which is next week on Tuesday at 7, where you're having Village of the Falls come, and we are going to talk about vision for what we want for 2020, and I'm trying to think of anything else. That's kind of it right now, and in the future, we're looking at trying to invite the local new facility on, have them come and meet the management there and the veterans facility. And other than that, we're kind of looking towards the future on what our neighbors would like to see happen in the future.
So Park Place is having a steering committee meeting on, is that January 20th? Is that a Monday? I hope. Anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Jonathan Waverly will be making a presentation regarding the new playground structure for Park Place Park. The service committee from Park Place met with him last week, and he needs to have these meetings and then go before the, I guess it's Planning Commission and then City Commission, and get this in flight so that we can get this wrapped up before our money expires at the end of June. So it's looking good. Can't think of anything else that's going on right now.
So, Amy suggested the last couple times that we should bring our concerns, and so I need to echo what Linda said. So, the citizens, in my mind, the citizens of Oregon City, for the most part, believe and share the idea that the city officials, the staff, and volunteers like ourselves are acting in good faith with good intentions, and that any kind of administrative policy seems to be a deliberated, conscientious, reasonable kind of like discernment on whatever they're going to enact. Having said that, I'm a voice of disappointment, like Linda, insofar as like after that meeting that we had not too long ago, where Pete Walter gave a presentation on the natural resource overlay, it subjected 3 properties, particular, as Linda alluded to, and the effect of which is the disappointing part, insofar as that it seems like the allowances given to one property to the left or the one on the right seem to be different and separate. And if you're going to enact or put forth a policy, realizing that this is a proposal and yet not designated, it would seem fair that each property would be under the same kind of like consideration. We have a situation where the lady in question, a widow, living in Kanema for 25 years, with no appreciable flooding in her backyard, has a trickle of a stream, inviting the natural resource people out there, which they willingly said that they needed to get a group together to go out and look at a trickle. This is not even a stream. It's a 10-inch waterway across her property, about 50 feet. If you read the Natural Resource Overlay Plan, where they want to have this 50-foot setback either side, you're talking about 100 feet taken away from this lady's property. Anybody, if that was your property, would say, you're appropriating my property. No one in Kanema is against water flow or water quality or interrupting the function of a stream. So that is not an issue. What is an issue is the way it's been mitigated or not mitigated, where we have, for those who may want to look into this, and it's going to be an up-and-coming kind of a topic. On one side, we have a property where there is some fill, under which we have been told there is a culvert. So 40-plus loads of topsoil covers his apportionate watershed, or designated water area. And on the left, we have what is, some of you are remembering, is the cottage buildings, 3 of which fall into this area, the setback, which is deemed the vegetation corridor or the buffer. And so insofar as like how one would look at this, even if on the cursory read of like, okay, here's what's in effect and what might be proposed and be voted on, we have 3 distinct properties, all adjoining each other, with separate kinds of designation on how they're going to amend this issue of the setback. I would hope that there would be more reasonable discussion and probably maybe some kind of like a qualifying allowance, since we know that there's been an allowance given to the cottage people, and we know that the exception to the one that has covered the whole problem with like just topsoil, although he claims that there's a culvert there, that there seems to be, or it would hope to be, a better way to like work through this and bring all parties together and come up with like a solution that would constitute a better resolve. How significant, it begs the question of like, how significant is this area, this particular stream of water, over the period of time? I don't believe, in my mind, from the older people of my community, there hasn't been an issue with flooding to the height of 4th Street, and I don't expect there'll be one thereafter. Also mentioned, just the last part would be that the survey or the plan that was executed to determine the water, whatever it's deemed, is a fluctuating aquifer that could be looked at and revised within a 5-year period. So the seriousness or the urgency about acting on this, begs the question. And I think it should be fair for the parties involved, because it does represent, like Linda pointed out, a hardship for the one that's squeezed between the 2 properties on what she can do with the backside of her property and what she intends to do with the future. This is a dream she might have, she might have an extension on her own house, she might be willing it to her children, we don't know, but it does pose an imposition, certainly, and could create down the road a hardship that I think should be addressed and looked at. And that's my commentary. And I'm really just sort of like making it for the record. I don't feel like anybody here would negate anything if they had a chance to walk on the property and see what is spelled out in this report. There is meetings coming up that deal with this issue, and there's stuff that you can find online pertinent to the National Resource Overlay Plan, which is retroactive. This is another issue. It's retroactive. So, you can't just have an excuse of like, well, I got under the wire before it got initiated as a proposal. Well, that's just quite unfair, and I think very unethical, and puts people out on the lurch of, all kinds of emotional and financial trauma. Just my piece to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, McLaughlin has an exciting thing coming up that will be also exciting for the city in general. The old Oregon City Hospital on Washington Street, which is now a residential center, is being bought by Niall Hagan, and he plans to update it significantly and make it an assisted living center. I asked him what color he was going to paint it. He said not pink. So, they're estimating 12 to 18 months for the remodel to occur. It'll be a 40 to 45 bed. They'll be using the first floor and upstairs, which hasn't been used for a number of years. Yeah, that was it. So he came and talked to us last week.
All right, Pete Walters, the planner on that application that Dennis, and I can provide a link when I learn, I don't know if it's available yet, but when it's available up on our city website under the land use, I'll provide a link to this group and you can read the background information on it. Thank you. Also, I'll provide a link, I'll talk to Kristen Brown about how to sign up for the monthly newsletter about city events, and I'll provide that in an email as well. That's all I have.
Just two announcements. A gentleman named James Graham will be the new Economic Development Manager for the City of Oregon City. His start date is Monday, January 21st. And then many of you know Maureen Cole, our Library Director, is retiring on January 31st. The new Library Director will be a gentleman named Greg Williams. He'll be starting on January 27th. He is currently a Deputy Director over at Clackamas Community College, and in his portfolio was all of the county libraries, so quite an extensive history working with Link, as well as Oak Grove, Gladstone, and all the other jurisdictions within Clackamas County that utilize the county library system. So 2 new hires coming on end of this month.
The only thing I would mention is that we have our first official, I guess, meet and greet with the Grand Ronde Tribe scheduled at the end of this month. So I think we're all looking forward to that, of starting that coordination and communication with Grand Ronde and talk about the future of the project. I doubt we'll be talking very much about the future the first night we meet, but hopefully it's a lot of meeting and greeting and saying hello and getting to know each other and hopefully a partnership and collaboration moving forward. So I guess that's it.
Anybody else have anything to add?
I'd like to add something. Another thing that we found out was that Officer Day, let me see, where is it? Our homeless liaison officer has been promoted, so he's not in that position anymore. And they told us the name of the person, and I'm not finding it. Oh, I know why. I can make the wrong thing. There it is. He's been, so Officer Day has been promoted to detective, and Dan Haynes will now be the new homeless liaison.
And we've been so blessed to have him these years. He's just a natural interactor with people. So.
Right, if nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.
All right.